Welcome one and all to Last Stop Penn Station podcast featuring Cary Silkin and Ian Riccaboni. They dive deep into Cary's wealth of stories, and no subject is off limits. From the world of wrestling to his ticket agency, growing up in New Jersey, drug-fueled underground days, hustling in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and endless days and nights in New York City, every story is worth telling.
Welcome, everyone, to this edition of Last Stop Penn Station. It's Ian Riccaboni, Cary Silkin. Cary, got a lot of great response to the camel, to Ring of Honor's first trip to Japan. And today, we're talking about the first official trip that Ring of Honor took to England. And you got a lot of great stories. We've already talked a little bit about it.
Hello, Ian. How are you?
I'm doing well.
How are you? Can you help me?
That's also a great Bela Lugosi, if I don't.
Which brings me right away off topic.
Yes.
On topic, but off topic. I was looking through some of my notes. You know, the name of our podcast and it's Last Stop Penn Station, which maybe my memoirs one day. Maybe it's going to be a mini series or a great Martin Scorsese film.
There you go.
Maybe it'll just be this or whatever. But I was looking through the notes and I came across. Now, what was the phrase you just used? Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi, yes.
Right. So Mike G, whose name is going to come up, has come up. My cousin Mike, acclaimed author of the Back to Woodstock 50, Back to Yasgur's Farm, which is a really good read. And Mike helped me. You know, he's the lifetime editor. You're familiar with the Aquarian, the East Coast Rocker, which is a North Jersey, New York area music newspaper that's been around. He was a music editor for years, as well as a ton of writing, various writings. Metal Maniacs, Modern Screens Country, Wrestling World.
Oh,
and
wow.
he was a publicist for a lot of people, everyone from Aerosmith.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in there, when Aerosmith was sort of in the dumps.
Oh, when they wouldn't play Dream On in Allentown at Ag Hall.
Really?
Big story that made the morning call here. Absolutely.
That's a good one. But the Bela Lugosi, Mike helped craft some of my thoughts. And when we started these characters, one of which we're going to talk about today, Schoolboy, which
Right.
I promised in our fourth episode, I gave a teaser about the great tale of Schoolboy. But the Bela Lugosi, Mike used that term to describe Mama Pretzel.
Mama Pretzel?
Yes. She was also, her real name was Samira. Is Samira.
That's a cool name. That's very unique.
I named her because of she spoke like this. She smoked 4 packs of Camels a day.
Wow.
And she had hair like a wild Brillo pad. And she would walk up 70. Now you're going to NYU and being in New York as much time you have, like when it's hot in New York, it's hot, but when it's cold, it's cold. And the way the wind blows down those avenues
cuts across. Yeah.
She would light up. She basically chain smoked and she refused to buy a lighter. She would use the old school matches, and just like a sailor, she could light the match. And
the blustering wind,
on Broadway, with just 40-mile-an-hour winds. But the Bela Lugosi analogy, I don't want to give away too much about Mama Pretzel. We'll have to talk about her another time. I mean, there's so many stories with her. And
today we're going to talk about Schoolboy. And the reason we're going to talk about Schoolboy, Cary, is because Alex Shane is a central figure in the Ring of Honor excursion to the United Kingdom. And Alex Shane, in my lifetime, whether it was Colt Cabana, whether it was Delirious, whether it was Johnny Storm and those guys in the UK, they would bring up this figure, Alex Shane, this mysterious figure, and he's almost larger than life for the right reasons and the wrong reasons. And to me, when you communicated Schoolboy, there was this mystery and this intrigue, the same way that I have for Alex Shane.
They're a little different because Alex Shane, he was a classic. If you're listening, Alex, how you doing, buddy? But he was a classic carny type. Wasn't the worst guy in the world, but he was a great salesman. I'm going to use a nice word.
Sure.
I was going to use a 3-letter word. No. I decided to use, it's not a 4-letter word, a 3-letter word, but he was a great salesman. And he sold us on the idea of going over to the UK. He came over to visit us. I guess, was it prior to us going over to the?
Yeah, and we'll get to the timeline. There was kind of one half-baked attempt with FWA and Ring of Honor, and that was sort of the old regime. It didn't quite have the star power that United would in 2006. And then there was kind of a more full-throttled Supercard in 05, which we'll get to too. And then there was United, and that was on August the 12th, 2006. And so from the stories you mentioned before, you said you met Alex Shane sometime in between 03 and 05.
I don't remember. I should have called up Gabe or somebody. He came over to, I really wasn't involved when Ring of Honor went the first time, which was in 03 with there was a couple of guys.
Just a handful of guys, yeah.
And some of the current, the original Ring of Honor management went over there, I think with some DVDs trying to sell, which was a good idea. And did Alex Shane come to New York first?
Yeah, he said he came to the Manhattan Center.
He may have, but before that happened, I know what happened. Because of that relationship of the pre-Cary Ring of Honor, there was,
and for those that might be listening for the first time, that's late 03, early 04. That's when you start to become a silent.
Early 03, okay. And then I became, full owner in early 04.
Okay.
So they had this relationship with Alex, and there was this super show. What was it called?
Yeah, there was a super show, in 05. And in fact, this was such a monumental occasion. It's in our friend Bill Apter's book, is Wrestling Fixed. I didn't know it was broke. And in January 2005, Alex Shane reached out to Bill Apter. He said, we knew each other well during the years I'd been editor of Total Wrestling in the UK. He was running his own promotion called Frontier Wrestling Alliance and booked me on a few shows when I was visiting the magazine office. And it said Alex had been a wrestler, a promoter, a radio TV talk show host. He wanted to promote a super show that would take place in Coventry on the UK Wrestling Channel, and it would be called the International Showdown. And Johnny Storm and Doug Williams, two names that have become synonymous with UK wrestlers in Ring of Honor, were on that show, but also AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, CM Punk, and others.
And it was March of what year?
2005.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So myself, Sid, Ross went over. We were told that this was going to be 3,000 people, and the Ring of Honor DVDs at the time. How many of them could there have been?
Probably about 24, right, at the most. Yeah.
That we were going to be able to sell. It was our kind of crowd. And off we went. I remember also that I sort of didn't want to go because there was a big ticket sale. Like I think the hot Broadway show at the time was Monty Python's Spamalot. Right.
This was right when I was headed to college, and that was such a hard ticket to get when I was at NYU.
So there was like a big period, it already had established itself, and there was a big block of tickets going on sale the morning after we were going to leave. But I left it in the trusted hands of my employees at the time. It was fine. And off we went. And we schlep schlep off to the UK. And
how many trunks of DVDs do you think you had? What do you take to something like that?
We shipped them ahead of time.
Okay.
Yeah. Those guys were good at that. And we shipped them ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Did we have shirts? I don't remember.
Yeah.
We probably did.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Before that show, we had a day or two to kill. And to Alex Shane's, he was the quote unquote promoter. I don't know if it was, I doubt it was his money, but he was the promoter.
Mm-hmm.
And he took care of us as far as made sure some guy met us. And he was going to be like our signed driver. And you know how it is in the wrestling business. Sometimes it's just some kid.
Yeah.
Some one of the younger wrestlers.
Cheeseburger was that way for years with Ring of Honor and the New Japan talent.
Well, right. But he'd be a good one.
He is. He's excellent. And, he took the time to learn Japanese. He took the time to yeah.
This is exceptional. You know what the normal kid would be like?
Yeah.
Hey, Charlie, go pick up so-and-so.
Yeah.
Don't get lost.
Our good friend Chris Freed once picked up AJ Styles at the Las Vegas McCarran Airport.
Really?
Yeah. And Chris has almost nothing to do with wrestling. So they'll just send anybody. Great comedian, but not involved in wrestling.
How did that happen?
Oh, that's another story. But yes, anybody, and in wrestling, anybody can pick up anybody. I had two things
I wanted to ask Ian at the beginning of the podcast. I'm not going to get to any of them. I'm going to get to them at the end. I'm remembering them, though. So I got some probing questions that you folks are going to want to know.
And schoolboy.
And schoolboy. And it goes back to the last episode. Anyway, there was the guy who was assigned to us as a driver. It was like a grown-up as opposed to a young student wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a good guy. So the show was in Coventry.
Mm-hmm.
And to the best of my memory, there was maybe 1 or 2 days before that. And Alex suggested that we go to, Samoa Joe was wrestling way up, like it was,
Scotland? Was he that far?
Not that far.
Okay.
Not that far. But anyone who follows me on Twitter or who knows about a little bit about me from social media, and certainly who knows me knows that, I'm a big rock and roll fan, and I'm a huge Jethro Tull fan.
Yeah.
So there we are on the A1, which I didn't realize. There's a Jethro Tull song, "Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die," and there's a line, "I'm out on the A1, round Scotch Corner." And I listened to the song for 30 years before this, and I just those are just words. Well, the A1 is like the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Oh wow, yeah.
And Scotch Corner is an exit. That's like a town.
Oh,
so when we were going, Samoa Joe's working this little show in this little town. I don't remember the name of the town, but it was just a small town. And I'm thinking, all right, might as well go there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could sell 100 DVDs, right?
Sure.
Well, the highlight, as it turned out, one of the highlights was me passing Scotch Corner, and we went like another hour and a half to get to this little town. And we go to this building. It was your classic, this auditorium. You might have a band, probably was a 1,500, 2,000 seater,
wow.
A decent size hall.
Yeah.
But the problem was, despite Samoa Joe being a hot talent on the indies, this was a local small show.
Oh, okay.
And there was maybe 300 people there.
Uh-huh.
And it was all local. There might have been a few of the prominent English names, maybe a Jody Fleisch or someone on the show like that, but it wasn't a loaded show. And we set up our DVD table before the doors opened, waiting for the people to clamor. And when it opened and they came in, we were the only merch. This company didn't even have any merch.
So you're thinking you're seeing dollar signs.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a golden willy.
Yeah.
So the people would come up, and they would be looking at the table and looking at the DVDs. Now, probably most people did not even have a DVD player.
Sure.
Or it was a different region.
Yeah.
But more importantly, and maybe they all had DVD players that could play our DVDs, but they didn't give a shit about they didn't. So I thought, they didn't know, it would be like going, as you have, and I have, going to a local show, a WWE show in Allentown, and you got your Ring of Honor sweatshirt on, and one or two people might be, hey, Ring of Honor, cool. Or hey, like one person out of 3,000,
and then they
hey,
don't.
Cary, and that's it. It's so same with this. We maybe sold two or three or four DVDs, and I remember walking out of the show during the show. Walking into the little town, I wasn't drinking at the time. It was almost forced to drink. Wow. But I wasn't drinking at the time. And there were these really nice little pubs. And I went in there and I ordered a soda. And my cell phone was working. And I was just checking in back home. And I remember calling some friends and just saying, wow, you should see this. This is really cool where we are. How's the DVD selling? I go, forget it. So we went to that one show. And we went back. I think there might have been a second show, there might have been an extra day. I think so. Yeah. And we said, no, we're not gonna do this. So then the Super Show came,
right,
in Coventry.
Yeah, and
a couple of interesting things happened at the Super Show. Number one was we're unloading the van with our boxes of DVDs. And yes, Alex Shane did a great job promoting that show.
3,400 announced attendance.
Yes. And we're dragging the DVDs in. And there's this bushy-haired young man.
It wasn't Pretzel Woman, was it?
No,
okay.
No.
I was going to say, that's quite the trick.
There was this bushy-haired young man who says, oh, hey, Cary, do you need some help with an English accent? And it was Joel from Suplex.
Oh, who's now a WWE UK referee.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of my dear friends.
Yeah, great guy.
And that's how I got to meet Joel.
Yeah.
And, he was a fledgling referee. I think he was maybe 18 years old then.
Self-starter, good guy.
Yeah, and he did help us. So we're dragging the stuff in. And the other cool thing, now it's probably only cool to me and to the guy I said it to. And now that I told Ian, you and AJ the story, you'll sort of get it. A couple other people out there, but Mick Foley, who we had done a DVD, a shoot interview type,
right? Straight shooting, which at various points has been available on Honor Club. So,
and I was there, and sorry, folks, for these Tull references, but they're important. In his book, in his very first book, he references Jethro Tull, and he was a big fan, and so much so that he hitchhiked he missed the Nassau Coliseum show of '84 of the Under Wraps tour, and he hitchhiked to Buffalo, New York. Wow. Just making sure he's got to see this one show on the tour. That's a schlep,
right? Especially a hitchhiking one.
And so I saw Foley, and I said to him, "Hey, man, guess what I saw yesterday?" He goes, "What?" I said, "We were on the A1 by Scott. We went past Scott's Corner." He goes, "Really? You saw the sign of Scott?" So he and I thought that was really cool. Anyway, we went in, we set up our tables, and it was, I guess it was a hockey rink kind of place. And remember the lighting for the ring was really good. And Sid was good. We brought lights, But the problem was the electric,
Yeah, you need a converter. It's
Right.
different outlets. Yeah.
different outlets.
Yeah.
We had to go out, get the right things, or else we'd have been in the dark. There were other vendors there too. There were vendors aplenty.
Yeah.
So, and it was a success.
Yeah.
It was a success. I don't know what the numbers were. I think I have this vague memory of doing like 17,000 pounds.
Wow. And that was probably 2-1. I traveled through England the next year. It was about 2-1 at that point. So that's probably about $34,000.
So it was.
Yeah.
It worked out okay.
Yeah.
Was it worth me going over there? I don't know. I guess for the story, yeah. And it was a good show too. I really wasn't that concerned with the show.
It's got the forgotten Punk versus Joe match.
There you go.
And in the main event, Christopher Daniels versus AJ Styles for the TNA X Division title. I got a question about that. TNA had kind of made the ultimatum right around that time of pulling some of the wrestlers off of the Ring of Honor cards because of the controversy involving the former owner. How did that relationship get put back together? Because Abyss would be in. I mean, AJ would obviously, Samoa Joe. It seemed like it organically worked out, or was there any discussions that you had to have there?
After everything settled down, they were just happy they got their booking fee.
Yeah.
And for lack of a better term, they hoard these guys out.
Yeah, okay.
And that's how we were able to, that non-exclusivity went out the window quick for a few bucks.
Gotcha. Okay. I always wondered.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because it wasn't, this was smack dab in the middle of all of that. So that's kind of incredible. Also on this card, Misawa is in, I don't want to say a throwaway 6-man tag team match, but when you see the name Misawa, you would think he would be in the main event, but you're flying in Misawa to wrestle in a 6-man tag. I thought that was interesting. And of course, Raven in a Raven's Rules match versus Alex Shane.
Yeah, that was a good match.
Yeah.
An attention getter. Let's put it that way.
Some names other fans might know: Petey Williams, Rockstar Spud, who's now on WWE television, and he was on the show as well.
And he had one Ring of Honor appearance in Cleveland.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
In Cleveland early on. But go ahead.
Yeah, and then one of Colt Cabana's favorites, Mal Saunders, wrestled on that card.
Okay.
Against Steve Gray, another one of his favorites, and some other names: Doug Williams, Two Cold Scorpio on this card as well, and Chris Sabin. So interesting names on that card. So we go from that. That's March 19th, 2005. And in between, someone must get the bug. Someone must say, hey, you know what? That was pretty cool. Why don't we just do this ourselves? Do you remember that moment happening?
Well, that's when Alex Shelley came over to New York.
Alex Shane.
We
love Alex Shelley. Alex Shelley was coming in.
Sorry.
No, he was coming in too at that time. Yeah, with the embassy. So
that's when Alex Shane came to New York. And I think we had a show in New York. I mean, This timeline. All right. So we went and we don't do our notes here, folks. Like I told you in the original episode, we went over to Liverpool and Broxbourne in 2006, correct?
2006, yeah.
Joe and Kabashi was in
October 1st,
October of 2005.
Yeah.
Which was our first New York show. Mm-hmm. So, which established our relationship. I touched on this briefly, but that established our relationship with the Manhattan Center / Hammerstein people because it was one in the same building. So I don't remember if it was the next. We'll have to look it up. But we were started to do New York every 3 months. Mm-hmm. Then I guess we went. We might have been one more time at that. It was a fire trap, that place.
Oh, geez.
That ballroom.
The Melrose Ballroom?
No. The ballroom at the Hotel New Yorker.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if we did that again, or had we advanced early? Had we advanced to the Manhattan Center yet? But be that as it may, Alex Shane came over on his own dime and to woo us to come over to promote us in Liverpool. and another city, which turned out to be Broxbourne. And it was the dead of winter. I do remember that. And he wanted to go out clubbing.
Okay.
I declined going. And it was also the same weekend when Mike G, who was our publicist, he got a WPIX Channel 11.
Channel 11, absolutely.
Had us on the morning show.
Wow.
Live in their plaza, right? We had a ringside. It was freezing cold out.
Was it March?
Probably.
There was March in 2006.
And where were we?
That was Best in the World, and that was in New York. That was, let's see. That was at Basketball City? Was it?
Oh, God. We don't do our notes. We'll have to,
we'll update in the next episode.
We're going to save Basketball City.
Okay.
God, what a place that was. I felt bad for the ring crew at that place. Anyway, Alex came over and he had this idea. He was familiar with these buildings, and there was a building in Liverpool, the Olympia, which is still there.
And that was my first UK tour. We went there, yeah.
And he had this other town, Broxbourne, which didn't make sense because it only held like 450, 500 people.
So you were risking losing money on a sellout.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're told there was going to be such a huge crowd in Liverpool at the Olympia. Don't worry about a thing. Broxbourne is sort of like a Corrigan Hall, a very, very mini second rate. The way Corrigan Hall, how many does that hold?
Sure. Let's take a look.
1,600, 1,800?
I think around 2,000, but let's see. Corrigan Hall capacity. 2005.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we got talked into doing Broxbourne.
Yeah.
It'll be an instant sellout. It'll look good on the DVD, whatever we were told. The other thing that was good about it was it was close enough to London so that it was like an hour away to the airport. So,
gotcha.
My friend Palermo came on the trip. So we flew into Liverpool and, what was it? It was August, right?
It was August, yeah.
Okay.
The middle of summer.
So we went a few days early to taste the fruits of Liverpool, the Beatles. I mean, come on, I want to see this stuff.
And the world's most haunted hotel.
I didn't know about that. Next time if we go over, you'll have to take me there.
Jay Lethal wouldn't sleep in his room when we were over there. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Where did he sleep?
He switched rooms because in my room, I woke up with my light on. I had no lights on.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Swear to God.
Well, that's interesting. Well, we stayed like at a Marriott.
Yeah. Well,
I was thinking, hey, it's August, right? It's going to be, at least it's going to be warm and it'll be good. And I'll be able to do a little jogging. I'll jog through the merry streets of Liverpool, hopefully passing Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields on my jog, right? So we fly into Manchester.
That would make sense, sure.
Yeah. And we get to Liverpool and our good friend Greg H came over.
Oh, okay.
Well, not with us, but he was there also.
That's amazing.
And he had established relationships and friendships with these UK ROH fans online.
Yeah.
And he's such a gracious guy.
Yeah.
And he still, I just saw him.
He was in the front row.
Yeah,
he was in the front row in Baltimore.
Right.
Yeah.
And he had a party. And so there we are in Liverpool. And I'm saying, thank God it's the summer. It's a cold area. It's right on the Mersey.
It is. Ferry across the Mersey. It's right. Jerry and the Pacemakers. Yeah.
Well, it was a whopping high of 48 degrees.
Wow.
The 3 days we were there.
No way.
Freezing fucking cold.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So we made the best of it.
Yeah.
We bopped around Liverpool. I met up with Greg H. And we went to the Cavern Club.
Oh, that's where the Beatles got their start,
right?
Yeah.
And which is still operates as a bar and a tourist attraction, and it has that famous
the cave look,
right? The sort of like the brick. It's like a corridor.
Yeah.
Probably not much wider than the living room. And my living room isn't that wide, but it's very small. And there's that famous stage, and they sell tons of Cavern Club t-shirts. And all around that area, there's monuments and
it's a beautiful downtown.
You've seen it, right? Did you see that little Eleanor Rigby?
I did.
It's like a park bench or something.
It's wonderful. I woke up early and just to walk around.
But were you able, because I wasn't, because I was trying to see Penny Lane.
I did not get to
and
Penny
Strawberry
Lane.
Fields.
No, and I didn't get to the Cavern Club either.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
All right. So the reason we didn't get to you know why we didn't?
No.
Well, it's not that hard, but a nice Liverpool cab driver told me when I asked him about it, it's a bunch of shit, that he told me, look, you want to go? I'll take you. But Strawberry Fields is just like a little patch of, for lack of better, like a playground.
I wish somebody would have told me that about Abbey Road. that's very disappointing, but please go on.
So they've sort of made a tourist area out of where the Cavern Club is.
Okay, yeah.
And so we hung out leading up to the Liverpool show. And the day of the Liverpool show, we had a mini convention.
Okay.
Before the show. It was a meet and greet.
Sure.
It was a small meet and greet with the stars of Ring of Honor.
Which would get bigger in March of the following year for the 5th year festival. He'd come back.
Maybe the damn meet and greet was at the 5th year.
No, there was a meet and greet.
Okay.
But there was a much larger one the following in March.
I also remember when they were setting up for the show, and it was like 2 p.m, and it was bright sunshine, and I'm like, where the hell is the warm weather? It's August. And I pull a chair out of like the back door of the Olympia, and I'm sitting in the sun, and it's freezing cold. I'm trying to suck some sunshine. There was some sunshine, but there was no warmth. It just wasn't happening. And we did the show. And why don't you tell us about this show?
So this was a heck of a card, and I got a lot of questions about some of the business end of it because, I'm sure as the listeners are curious as well. I'm curious to know who paid for airfare. Was there a promoter? Cary's pointing at himself. Who paid the talent? Was it kind of a 50-50 split? Was there sort of a promoter that helped you guys get there? And so we'll get to that for sure. But some of the talent, Matt Seidel, one of our very good friends, opened the card in a 4-corner survival against one of our best friends, Colt Cabana, Johnny Storm, who a great wrestler, one of the biggest names in the UK for a while, and Spud, Rockstar Spud. Then Chris Hero comes and jumps the rail, and he was part of CZW. And so
Colt Cabana was in the opening match, right?
Yeah.
And I remember he came out. I hope I don't blow this one. There's a famous old English wrestler, Big Daddy.
Yes,
who used to carry a it wasn't a live baby, a baby doll to the ring, and Cabana carried a baby doll to the ring, and he got a great pop from the fans. Yeah. But go ahead.
Still one of the most recognizable American wrestlers in Colt is not Big Daddy. Big Daddy's UK through and through, and rest in peace, Big Daddy. Davey Richards against Jimmy Rave and Prince Nana. Now, Nana, not often do the managers get to travel internationally. Nana was special, though.
Yeah, he was special. And they had the gimmick with them throwing the toilet paper, which I hated.
Yeah.
Because people would bring rolls of toilet paper.
Yeah.
I don't know why it bothered me so much.
Because you could use, I'm so thrifty, I would try and roll it back up and use it. Our great friend BJ Whitmer faced Claudio Castagnoli.
There's a guy we don't talk about enough.
Yeah.
There's two guys we don't talk about enough. One of them came up today on my limited use of social media, Roderick Strong.
Oh, the unsung MVP, and he's coming up in this.
My comment was that I don't speak about it enough because he was always so consistently good. It's like he goes over my head.
Right.
If that makes sense.
If
And that's what I wrote.
Yeah. If there's a scale out of 10, he was always at least a 9. At least. And when a guy's that good, sometimes you take that for granted.
Right.
And same thing for Claudio. I mean, you could.
What a good guy.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Absolutely. Claudio, of course, now known as Cesaro in the WWE. BJ Whitmer defeats Claudio Castagnoli. Colt Cabana comes out in a special ROH CZW match, defeats Chris Hero. So he comes back out for that. And Colt would, if I remember correctly, would leave pretty shortly thereafter to head to the WWE.
Shortly.
So that's interesting there. With a Team UK versus Team Noah match. So Noah coming back. We talked about the relationship heating up. Doug Williams and Jody Fleisch against Sua and Goshizaki. And then we had an FWA title match. Now, the FWA, that was the organization that in 2003 partnered kind of sort of with Ring of Honor. They brought in Ring of Honor, and they had, I think, 4 Ring of Honor guys. Robbie Brookside, great wrestler, takes on Chad Collier, one of the mainstays of the 04-05 Ring of Honor.
And before that, too.
He was. I think he was on a couple of the 02 cards. And then this is where it starts to get fun. This is really when we hear some of the names.
Already there's too much money, but go ahead.
So in your head, I mean, so I know what my plane ticket cost, and I'm on the cheaper end because I can leave out of Philly or Newark or JFK or wherever. So when Ring of Honor sends me, they know I can travel from numerous airports, and they can pick the best price. So my ticket's usually $650. Anywhere from $650 to $900 is reasonable. What do you think an average plane ticket cost for, let's say, I don't know, Chad Collier? What do you?
I don't know how how that got pulled off. He might have been. Could it possibly that he was over there?
Could be. It could be. How about Dragon? How about Bryan Danielson? I mean, he was in the Philly area at the time, I think, running the dojo.
Yeah, I mean, so how many plane fares? We must have had like 15, 20. And then we had, Ross Gabe, Sid.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ross came, but Sid and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we're dealing with Alex. I would say Shelley again, with Alex Shane,
right?
Whatever his percentage was going to be, and then on top of it, there were the mobsters.
Oh, go on.
that owned and ran the building in Liverpool. I guess they were getting a flat fee.
Okay.
But continue with the card. I'll tell you a story about those guys.
Yeah, we have 2 matches left, and this is really where you start to hear the names that are synonymous with early Ring of Honor, current Ring of Honor, past, present, future. Austin Aries, Roderick Strong, they were the World Tag Team Champions, defended the titles against the Briscoes. Our notes here says Austin Aries suffered 2 broken ribs during the match. And then in the main event, one of the greatest matches in the history of Ring of Honor, Bryan Danielson, the world champion, defeats Nigel McGuinness, the pure champion, to unify the championships. That was the last time we'd see the pure title.
Yeah, that was the Billy Goat headbutt match.
I believe so, yeah.
I'll have to go back and watch it. But yeah, fantastic card. And talk about expenses. We had established a criteria of having some production and having lighting and having a professional look to it. So we weren't, we had a rent, from in the UK.
Right.
There was plenty of lighting. It wasn't that there was a lack of lighting companies, but it was a big expense, but we wanted to do it right.
Sure.
So it looked right.
Yeah.
And it was a very expensive show.
Well, I'll say this. It's not one of the most expensive DVDs on the secondary market, but it's one of the most desirable. And this event holds up to this day. I think the match that stands out the most to anybody is American Dragon Bryan Danielson against Nigel. It's available on Honor Club, I believe, on the Bryan Danielson compilation. So you don't have to seek out the DVD. You can go on to Honor Club and scroll through there. And that was night one.
That was night one, but that was not the end. And let me tell you about what happened at the end of night one.
All right.
The guys that owned the building in Liverpool, these were shady old time guys. And right next to I keep wanting to say Olympus, the Olympia.
Yep.
Right next to the Olympia was a small casino. They have these no resemblance to American or Vegas
like
casinos.
Hole in the wall slot machine parlors.
Yes, these slot parlors, and they're very odd games.
And I can't figure out how you win.
I can't either. I don't know. It's not. It's just a different kind of slot machine. People play them though.
Yeah.
And so they had a small, like when we were staying downtown Liverpool. There was one like right across the street from, the Marriott. So, naturally I'm going to go in there and I'm just like dumping these pence and these coins in. I don't know what's going on. They're just going away. Yeah. And there was very little return. So they had the little casino, but next to that, they had this nightclub. And I bet you might have seen it. It had to still be there. It was called the Grafton.
Oh, I don't remember the name, but I probably saw it.
Well, the night that we had this show, which must have been a Friday night.
Let's see, it's August the 12th, 2006. I'll figure out.
Well, the night that we had the show, they had the show. After the show, the Grafton was open. And, the guys want to go there and drink and hang out. And the Grafton had a special deal for one and all, 20 pounds, all you could drink.
Wow.
So I don't know, in today's money, maybe that was $40.
Yeah, about $40. Yeah. And I'm looking at the names. There's some guys that can knock them back.
And these guys, I think they might have given, oh mate, just give me 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And, we go next door and I wasn't drinking. I'm not drinking. And I'm in this place and it is a zoo. You could imagine anybody from the area who wants to go mix it up and just has, 20 pounds they could blow on unlimited alcohol.
Oh, geez.
And they had some little roped off bullshit VIP area for us. And we were there, it's like the Billy Joel song. I didn't want to make it like the Billy Joel song in Big Shot.
Oh.
I didn't see. I went over the line. I didn't see it was time to go home.
Yeah.
I was just getting disgusted because I wasn't drinking, and the scene was just raucous. And the guys that ran the club asked me, "Oh, are you looking for any blow?"
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
That's pretty straightforward.
Right. No.
Well, and things are a little looser there. I mean, James Taylor talked about in the 60s, you could find anything you wanted, and it was a little bit more, it was relaxed rules, as for a Ring of Honor term that used to come out of the mouth of Lenny Leonard and Dave Briggs.
and these guys ran the place. So I'm telling Sid, look, I want to get the fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. Right. And we got out of there. I forget what the travel arrangements were specifically. I think we had a bus of some nature. Mm-hmm. We had a rental van, which I was in with Sid and a couple of the office guys. And some of the guys wanted to stay. I'm like, look, I want to leave. I want to leave. And the next day we were in Broxbourne.
Right. Yeah.
Which was this nice little town. It's like rolling green hills on this little town. And we got to this hotel and it was very nice. Liverpool has a little bit of tawdriness to it, a little bit of the blue collar, it's a little bit edgy. This was a nice little town. And, we got to this hotel. We had very little sleep, and we were at this very small building. I agreed to do it, and I remember just wanting to get through that show.
Yeah.
And get out of the country. And I know it was a really good show.
Absolutely. It's again, this is one that it's not the most expensive on the secondary market, but it's very desirable. The opening contest is Go Shizaki versus BJ Whitmer. Again, BJ is one of those guys, one of the unsung heroes. Just a very, very good wrestler. Could have a great match with anybody. He opens things up with one of the best in the world at that time. Then you have Johnny Storm against Jody Fleisch and Spud in a triple threat match. That's interesting because Johnny Storm and Jody Fleisch would become a great tag team in their own right. So then you have Cabana, Nigel, and Robbie Brookside versus Chris Hero, Claudio, and Chad Collier, the 3 CZW guys. And then you had Danielson versus Sua. And this is interesting because Bryan Danielson wins with a small package. Of course, one of his great forgotten nicknames, the Master of the Small Package. That one didn't quite stick. Doug Williams defeated Jimmy Rave with Prince Nana, our good friend. And then a tag team match, the Briscoes against Matt Sydal and Davey Richards. That was a pretty cool team. Didn't last too long in Ring of Honor. Sydal and Richards, I think they only teamed a couple of times. And then Bryan Danielson comes back out for his second match, defends the world title against Roddy.
It's funny. I don't really go back and watch any of these shows.
These sound really good.
This sounds good and worth digging in. I've got downstairs. I have pretty much all the DVDs. And
this is my public apology. I illegally downloaded all of these when I was at NYU. The tuition was $45,000 a year, but boy, I was going to get it with stolen wrestling from using my high-speed internet.
Do you still have it on your hard drive?
Fifth Amendment. Anyway, so when we talk about these things, how would you make your money back? Presumably $450. Let's say Liverpool did well. Did it?
It did okay. What were the real numbers? I don't. Does it say on that?
No. There's one of those about signs.
1,500
for about 2,000.
It was a good crowd,
and that's a cool building to have full like that.
Yeah, it was a good crowd. It's impossible for us to make any. It was just impossible to make any money.
And it's interesting you keep saying that. I think there's this perception because it was such great wrestling. The crowds were so rabid. It's kind of like ECW, where I think the early Ring of Honor years, there's this perception that you were making stars, you were making money, you were putting out these DVDs.
No. And I'm going to jump around here, but you triggered something in my brain. There's something that's never spoken about, and maybe we'll try to get into some further detail, but I'll just touch on it. People forget, they used to, we had a good crew for most of the time, but sometimes there was, there's always the anti-office guys. But I think I was the only, Ring of Honor was the only company to provide insurance.
Right.
During that time. Not then, but there was might have been
0708.
0708.
Yeah.
And of course, that's never spoken about.
Sure.
But, we tried when things were, it just made sense. It was like I'm losing this much. What's the difference?
An extra couple bucks
right.
and make everybody happy.
So that was, but as far as going into this, maybe if we would have had like maximum merch sales and the Broxborn was silly and Alex Shane, he's going in our pockets.
Yeah.
Which I'll tell you about when we do Cary's ROH trip to Liverpool Part 2 when we did the 2 shows.
Oh, okay. In 07.
When we did the 2 shows in 07.
Okay.
I got a good story. But it was a good trip.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And it was good times for sure.
These shows are still revered quite a bit. Any crazy travel stories? Anybody forget their passport? Anybody left at the airport?
I think there was a problem with the Briscoes. Might have had a little too much to drink.
Oh,
and
those are good men.
They had the Briscoes had a little. They were young. I mean,
yeah. I mean, Mark was too young to wrestle in Pennsylvania in 2002, which means he was 17.
He had a little too much to drink, and the fine facilities that we had the guys housed at. Got a call to the local constable, and the other guys were upset about it. But that's the only thing I really remember.
Was there any talk at the time? The Wrestling Channel had been big in the UK. Ring of Honor had tapes on the Wrestling Channel. We
used to get a lot of orders from the UK.
Yeah,
I mean, so much so that when I sold the company in 2011, during the tedious negotiations, DVDs were hanging on at that point.
Right.
They weren't dead yet.
No, and Blu-ray really never latched on the way I think a lot of people thought, and digital wasn't quite accepted.
Right. So it gave me the latitude, or it gave me the platform to talk about DVDs. I remember telling Joe Koff that, geez, if because we would get there was a period of time where we'd get 20%, 25% of our orders from the UK.
Yeah.
And it probably had gone down by then, but certainly early on.
Right.
And the Wrestling Channel was good for us.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
a lot of early events. And I remember hearing that some of the events were kind of spliced up to air on the wrestling network there, the Wrestling Channel. Was there any idea to try and bring that back? Was there ever any talks to try and get TV there? Because it seems like it's, I don't want to say an easier proposition, but it seems like the UK was a little ahead of the curve in terms of niche channels and markets and things like that.
We tried getting the TV everywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe we needed an agent. Maybe I remember we were on in Portugal.
Oh wow! Okay.
Or
yeah.
France, but
we're still on in France to this day. We're still on in France.
Popular in France. Yeah. But yeah, when did the Wrestling Channel go away?
I think around this time, actually.
Yeah, we were unable to, make any headway with anything else, but it was good while it lasted.
Was there ever any talks about going to any other countries in the UK? You mentioned France had some TV, in Europe.
Yeah, whoever got us to, it was either Portugal or France. It was, after a year of it airing, we could come over there. Nothing ever transpired.
Gotcha.
And it didn't transpire into DVD sales either.
Gotcha.
Whatever this other country was.
Just to clarify, the Wrestling Channel was on the air from December 1st, 03 to December 06. So shortly thereafter, right. The Wrestling Channel.
Hopefully these shows didn't kill it. I doubt
it. And I guess finally, you would go back pretty quick. Without letting the cat out of the bag, I'm sure we'll talk about the 5th year festival. What a great series of events that was as a podcast. But even though you said it wasn't a financial success, you were back in Liverpool pretty quickly. Was there any reason?
It wasn't a disaster.
Okay,
that was the thing. With all those flights,
yeah,
and all these the people from the guys that owned the Grafton and the Olympia, I guess they just got, they just were getting a flat fee.
Yeah.
But, Alex Shane, he was trying, he was always trying to look for an edge. Mm-hmm. So it was very difficult.
Yeah.
But to your point, it wasn't so bad that we didn't consider going back. And I mentioned this in one of our earlier episodes. I liked when we would do 2 nights at the same place, so we didn't have to drag our ass to another city. Yeah. So that was appealing.
Yeah. Well, this has a lot of the makings of kind of the early Cary Silkin story. And Cary, next week we're going to talk a lot about your foray into wrestling, your magazine days, and your early days jumping into wrestling in 99. Do I have that right? 98?
Yeah.
In Puerto Rico. And this is only 2006. So within 7-8 years, you went from editing a wrestling magazine in Puerto Rico to taking an internationally known wrestling company to a different country across a large ocean.
Who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
And who would have thought that a man, I'm talking about my co-host here, Ian, a man who walked around the west side of Manhattan.
With a guitar case, I played the Village Treehouse. I played the Club One.
As well as a briefcase. I want to know about this briefcase of sex toys.
Yeah, I'd be happy.
You mentioned, and this will cause people to download episode 4. We were talking. I don't even I was talking about. I know what it was.
Yeah.
When I saw the camel. In the adult bookstore, the bucket and mop thing in the adult bookstore, and one thing led to another, and Ian says, "Well, nothing shocks me coming from a man who carried." What was your quote?
A briefcase full of sex equipment. And
were you a salesman?
No. And this is where everybody gets the story twisted. I was an award-winning sex educator, and we could post the photos. I won what's called the President's Service Award, and it's the highest honor you can bestow upon a student at NYU for my presentations on sex education. So what I would talk about was safer sex. I'd talk about everything. We had a seminar called Sex 101. I had Bondage 101. I had Sex Toys 101.
Who were you counseling on?
Sure. So it wasn't one-on-one. They were presentations that I was what they called a peer educator. And what I would do was I got certain benefits like a discount on room and board, a meal plan, dining, and in New York, that's important. That takes that takes a lot off your mind if you're getting some of that covered. And I would give these presentations that were trained to me by actual, people who had PhDs and things like that in sexual health and topics like that. And I would then hold presentations in my residence hall, and I would bring. Now, occasionally, I would have to pick up the instruments and implements from the NYU Student Health Center, which used to be on Browdway. It was about 4th and Broadway-ish.
Great neighborhood.
So and it was wonderful. And
almost right by Washington Square Park.
Yeah, right off of Washington Square Park, 2 blocks away. And it was cool, and it taught me a lot of important things. It taught me that sex is a wonderful thing, but that you can be safe about it and you can enjoy it. And it taught me about consent. It taught me about relationships, and it taught me more than some of the surface level. You see a double-sided dildo, and you think there's a lot of things that run through your head, but you see it too, and you realize that this is a way to interact with another human being. And it's something where you're engaging with a human being on a different level. And it's kind of that icebreaker where, I got this in my hand, but I'm going to tell you what, this is important. This is a part of a bigger
it's an icebreaker, folks.
This is a part of a bigger, more important conversation about engaging and communicating with the ones you love, or even if this is your lifestyle, the ones that you choose to be with for that night or that few hours.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, I used to have to go up to the health center, grab the briefcase full of dildos, and move on.
Would there be like an announcement that?
Oh yeah. So one of the presentations
Go ahead.
That I ran was called Sex Tapes and Mixtapes and Penis Cake. And what I did was,
what was the name of it?
Mixtapes and Penis Cakes. And what I did to break the ice with the new residents at Lafayette Hall at NYU was I got molds from the I'm blanking on the name. It was on Howard and Lafayette. No, Howard and Bleecker, I believe. And it was off the road. It was by the Museum of Sex, and they sold these great molds. You could do breasts and penises. And I baked those, and then I encouraged people to bring the one song that they'd put on a playlist when they're feeling in the mood. And at the end of it, I burnt CDs with all the songs on it. We had a discussion about Sex 101. And
so were these students required? I don't mean
no.
Were they required to go to?
It was not compulsory.
Because I'm imagining the average. How old were the kids?
So I was 20, 21.
Well, the average college student would be like, I don't, if it's not required to go to.
Sure. No, it was a draw though. And it was an opportunity, out of not toot my own horn, but it was an opportunity for people to meet each other in this weird environment. You could kind of giggle at the cakes and the dildos and the absurdity of it all. And you kind of learn some things. I can't tell you how many people actually told me that they learned how to put on a condom because they came to one of these things. For real. And that if that prevented one disease from being spread, if that prevented one pregnancy, then I did my job.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Absolutely.
And thank you for being so candid.
Oh, of course.
Answer this. This fine family man, this happy wrestling man. He was walking around with giant dildos.
But not giant.
Plugs.
No. Well, yeah. They were in the briefcase. Okay. But this has never been a secret. It's something I'm proud of. So I and to the point where, when I first started applying for jobs and applying for different things, I made sure that it was public everywhere so that if somebody found out and say there wouldn't be a shock of, oh, he didn't tell us. There's pictures of me with the president of NYU with the plaque saying I've won the award for being a sex educator.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I promised to talk about Schoolboy, but we're going to do it the next day.
Wow, you're pulling a WCW.
But before we leave you, and no one's going to, 3 people are going to care about this. I've got to ask you. Mm-hmm. I could have asked you off air, but I didn't. And AJ, our producer, who's a fan also. No, I'm not going to mention Jethro Tull. No, but I am going to mention. If people follow me on social media, and you could relate to this, and AJ is not as much of he's with his company and his Bisson Creative, doing websites, photography, and other services. Of course, he's involved in social media, but he's not involved in Twitter as much, which is really not just a wrestling thing, but but so isn't it something? When you post I'll speak for myself. I'll post an old picture of me and BJ Whitmer.
Sure. Love BJ.
You get, I don't have that many followers, 14,000 or something.
That's a lot more than a lot of people.
But, as someone like BJ might have 150,000. Someone like Colt Cabana has 1 million.
Yeah.
So, but if I post a picture like that, I'll get, I don't know, 80, 90 people. Oh, they like it, hit the little they like button. But if you post a picture like I did today, Don Larson's
The Perfect Game.
The famous Don Larson who pitched the perfect game in the World Series for the Yankees in 1956. That'll never be done. I mentioned that. It's impossible for it to be done again because they pull them out of the game.
The pitch counts, the pitch count.
But then you only get a couple people. But why should I be surprised? Because my appeal is towards wrestling fans. So where I'm going with this is I've been posting about this Broadway show that just blew me away called Hadestown, and where I've gone to see it multiple times. Like I would go to see Roger Waters or Elton John or I'll throw Tull again multiple times, if it's geographically friendly. So you finally had a chance to see Hadestown. Don't try to make me feel good.
No.
What did you think?
No. In full disclosure, Cary, in the business he's in, was able to score some choice seats and provided them at an affordable price considering what they're going for in the secondary market, especially. That being said, it was stunning. That's the only word. I mean, there was point, and I caught you watching me because it was kind of a triple date almost. You were there with your good friend Liam, but then there was also Delirious attended as well, and he brought his mom, which was the cutest thing ever.
And Jay Lethal.
And Jay Lethal was there as well. And I caught you watching the folks that you helped bring to the show almost as much as the show. And there were moments where I felt my jaw getting tired because my mouth was agape at what I was seeing.
Hey Jay, me and Liam were sitting in the third row center on the left side, so the Andre DeShields side, and Ian and his wife are sitting on the 2 aisle seats on the other side. So the way the row sort of has a little curve to it.
We could see each other.
I could see him straight down. So I would be looking down at like these key moments. And the one, no one's going to give a shit about this. But the one moment when they raise the roof and the stage splits.
Oh my goodness.
I was looking at you.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell if you were like staring at the actors or you were saying the holy shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
It was the whole, it was the latter.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It's amazing. It's something where you can't even define it as a genre. And Cary, for months, even before it won all the Tonys, Cary was on top of this. It won 8 Tonys, including best Broadway musical. And he said, "You got to get to this. You got to get to this. You got to get to us." And my schedule. The reason we're going to do 10 episodes week by week, and then regroup, and then do 10 more, is because of our schedules.
Right.
Cary still run Rave Tickets, and I work day job with Ring of Honor. So you were trying to get me to this. And finally for Christmas, you said, well, how about you take your wife? And it was incredible. You talk about maybe like 9 to 5 with the great Dolly Parton.
Right.
I saw that.
Good show.
I saw it, and it was a limited run. It was good. It was fun. But I can tell you what 9 to 5 sounds like. I can tell you what to expect when you see Frozen. I can tell you what to expect if you see Phantom. I can't tell you what to expect when you see Hadestown. And it was Dr. John mixed with Bruce Springsteen's Seeger Sessions mixed with a little bit of hip hop, but more of just that rap that you'd hear.
Almost the band.
Yeah.
Almost, like the roots of country, the roots of soul, just the roots of everything. It's like a folk rock opera.
It is. And there's if you like the Code of Honor, the Code of Honor, I won't spoil it. But it helps to have this pointed out. The Code of Honor is adhered to by the end of the musical.
I told, during the intermission, as smokers, I told Delirious, I'm going to go outside, and he joined me, and I was, he was amazed also at the first act, and I just said, just watch the second half, and I said to him, I was saying a line to him, oh Lord, the gods have forgotten the song of their love. And he's looking at me. I go, just remember that line, that the gods, talking about Hades and Persephone, how they've forgotten the song of their love. And that's really what the show's about. But nobody wants to hear about this.
Let's tie it back together. I mean, there's a point in Ring of Honor where that may have been how people felt, whether it was 2009 when things almost closed down, whether it was the sale to Sinclair when there was a lot of big question marks and a little hiatus, or maybe even, in recent times. But I think that we're on the right track right now. Right. So,
and as they say in Hadestown, no matter what happens, the song will be sung again.
It will. So this has been another extraordinarily fun episode of Last Stop Penn Station. Next time, we'll be talking about Cary's beginnings in Puerto Rico and how in just 8 years he went from a chance meeting with Bushwhacker Luke to taking Ring of Honor to Japan, to the UK, all over the world. And we'll finally get to Schoolboy maybe. We were a little camel heavy these last couple episodes. Great reaction, but Schoolboy, maybe we'll keep you waiting.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, everybody. Happy wrestling. We'll see you next time.
I thank God it stole the handle and the plane and won't stop. Oh, no, it just slowed down.
We hail you for listening to Last Stop Penn Station podcast. Rate, review, like, subscribe, and share on your favorite platform. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or at laststoppennstation.com.